Hi there, I'm Lynn Thomas, the Business Builder, and I'm so pleased that you've been able to join me for my tutorial on how to get your website onto page 1 of Google for free. One of the easiest but most overlooked ways of getting your website to feature on page 1 of Google for free is to use your blog. Now, don't roll your eyes and start complaining that you aren't a blogger and you don't want to become one. I said that I would show you how to get onto page 1 of Google for free, and this is the quickest and simplest way to do just that. So please just bear with me and hear me out, because it's really not that difficult or time consuming. Okay, so first let me explain why I'm talking about blogging when showing you how to get onto page 1 of Google for free. And the simple answer is keywords. Google, as you know, is a search engine, and it uses keywords to determine what people are looking for. So let me explain how that works. Let's imagine someone wants to know where to buy silk headscarves. They key into Google silk headscarves, and Google then trawls the internet for content that contains those keywords and shows appropriate content as potential results. Just as an exercise, I put in silk headscarves into Google and it returned, get this, 31,800,000 results for me to have a look at. Well, obviously, I'm not going to look at all of those, am I? I'm going to look up the top 10 or so. And this is why it is so important to be on page 1. But if there's that much competition, how can you possibly get your little website up there on page 1 with the big boys? Well, like I said, keywords, or rather key phrases. To show you how all this works in the context of an actual blog, I'm now going to share my screen with you and show you how to write a great blog post that will help get your site to page 1 for a particular key phrase. Once you know how to do one, you can then copy the template for other keywords or key phrases that you want to be ranked for. So that sounds quite simple, doesn't it? So let me share my screen with you. And sorry, I will get there in just a moment. I thought I got all this set up, but there you go. So 1 second. Let's just do it a quicker way. It won't be a moment. I do apologise for this. Yay! Okay, right, so there we are then. Okay, so you can see here how to write a great blog post. I'm going to read through this blog post to begin with, and there is a reason why I'm doing that. I'm not going to read the whole thing word for verbatim, because you'd be thinking, well, why couldn't I just go and read this myself? There is a reason I'm doing it, and I will get back to that shortly. This tutorial is going to be about 40 to 45 minutes long, so you might want to go and grab yourself a cup of your favourite beverage, grab a notepad and pen so that you can take some notes. This blog post is actually a live blog post, so you can access it, and I will put the link to it below this video, so you can actually come onto it and follow the links that we will be talking about as we go through it. And obviously, I'd rather you listen and learn rather than scribble notes for everything and then maybe miss something important. Because as I said, you can access this blog post yourself and go through the whole thing again as many times as you wish. Okay, so are you trying to find out how to write a great blog post? Great, then grab a cuppa and let's get started. Short on time, you can listen to a podcast version right here. Now, there's the first surprise. Your blog doesn't have to be all written. You can put videos on there. You can put podcasts on there. You can make your blog appeal to your audience by using the media that they're most likely to consume. And this is important because obviously if your audience aren't typical readers, which younger people don't tend to be, then you might need to include a video alternative or a podcast alternative if they're ever going to actually consume your content. Okay, so first of all, a blog post is just an article which appears on a blog like this one that you're reading right now. So if you imagine that a blog is a magazine and the posts are the articles within it, just think about it like that. It is designed to inform, inspire, educate, or entertain its readers, or to promote a product or service that you may have or want to recommend. This particular post is going to be educating you. It's going to be teaching you exactly how to write a great blog post from scratch. You will learn something from it, so I consider it to be educational, but I hope it's also a little inspirational. The read time of this post is around 10 minutes. Short on time, listen to the podcast instead. So again, I've given them another opportunity to click on the link and listen to it. Okay, so the first thing you need is a title. The title needs to be something that is going to encourage someone to click on it, because that, after all, is the whole point of you creating this content, is that people are actually going to click on it and consume it. So what makes a great title? Well, the title should include the keywords that you want to be ranked for. So remember, this is about getting this blog post onto page 1 of Google, because if your blog post's there, then your whole website is there, and that's kind of the point. So you need to include the keywords that you want to be ranked for. So for example, this post is being ranked for how to write a great blog post. Yes, I know that that's a phrase and not a word, but this is called a long tail keyword, and they're much easier to get ranked for. If I try to get ranked for the single word blog, or even the 2 words blog post, I will be up against an enormous amount of competition. Making a long tail version of my keyword is much less likely to be so competitive. So remember all those millions and millions of results that were returned for the silk headscarves. The same will be true for blog posts. So what I've done is I've wrapped my keyword blog post into a sentence or a phrase so that they become much less competitive. There are much fewer people looking for that entire phrase than there would be just for the word blog post. Okay, so how I came up with my title was I keyed into the Google search bar how to write blog posts. Then, and this is the clever bit, I scrolled to the bottom of page 1 where Google shows me exactly what people are keying into the search bar that are similar to my original search. So here, for example, it's got blog writing templates, blog writing format, blog post template, how to write a blog about yourself, how to write a great blog post, how to write a blog and make money, etc., etc. I decided to go with how to write a great blog post, and here we are. The title that you choose really needs to be either answering a question like how to write a great blog post, or it's offering a way to reduce a pain point like 3 simple ways to get more readers to your blog. Now, titles are a funny thing because it has been found that lists are particularly clickable. So if, like this one I've just said, 3 simple ways to get more readers to your blog, you almost are compelled now to say, well, what are those 3 things? I need to know. It's almost like saying, I've got a secret, but I'm not going to tell you. You know, people will want to click on it because they don't want to be part of that FOMO factor, fear of missing out. Okay, so I decided to go with how to write a great blog post, and here we are. You can actually check to see how good your title is by using this free analysing tool, and it's the AM Institute if you want to look it up yourself. But as I said, this link is live in this blog post, and I will put the link to the post below this video so you can have a play around with it later. But it's great fun, and I suggest you try it out. You can see the results of my analysis here. Have a read of the information that it gives me about what is considered a good headline. So I've put in my headline, as you can see, how to write a great blog post, and this is my result, 14.29%. And under here it says, and for comparison, most professional copywriters' headlines will have 30 to 40% EMV words. EMV means emotional value. Things like children, family, exciting, massive, things that drum up some sort of emotion. And with the most gifted copywriters, they will have 50 to 75% EMV words. So you can see that my pathetic 14.29 isn't that great, is it? So I started playing around with it. And I put in one extra word, how to write an amazingly great blog post. And look, I've gone up from a pathetic 14.29 to a more respectable 25%. So I'm heading up towards that 30% mark. But if I really started to get creative, I can begin to achieve expert status like this. How to create an amazingly great blog post that turns customers into family. And now I've got a score of 38.46%. So I'm really getting there now. But what you have to remember, and I need you to rein yourselves in a little bit. I know it's exciting and I know you can come up with all these brilliant headlines. But the problem with this headline is it's not actually what the post is about, is it? I'm not teaching people how to turn customers into family. I'm teaching people how to write a great blog post so that they can get their websites onto page 1 of Google for free. Okay, so you need to kind of rein it in a little bit and just make sure that you temper your excitement and that your headline is actually delivering on the promise it's making. So the content within your post needs to actually deliver on what the headline is promising. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that your customers or your readers are going to come along, they're going to start reading, they're going to realize it's not what it actually said in the title, and they're just going to bounce straight off again, and you don't want that. Okay, and I don't know about you, but I also think it's a bit cheesy. I don't really like cheese, and it's not really something that I do. So I decided I was going to stick with my original plan, and I think that how to write a great blog post will do just fine. It answers the question that someone might ask, and I know that it's something that's being searched for because Google told me so, bless them. So I don't have to guess whether my headline is going to be something people are going to look up. I already know it's something that they're looking up because it was right there on the Google suggestions. So that's really going to help you decide on your keywords. Okay, where do I put the keywords once I know what they are? Now you know what the keywords are that you want to be ranked for, it's time to start putting them into your blog post. The first time to use them is in the very first sentence. And if you go back to the beginning of this post, you'll see that I have done just that. So if you go back, you will see here, are you trying to find out how to write a great blog post? Now, many people say they have a bit of a problem trying to figure out how to get those keywords into that first sentence without it looking a little bit odd or reading a bit weird. How I do it is I rephrase it as a question. Are you trying to find out how to write a great blog post? So it just makes it more grammatically correct and easy to read. Okay, so that's how I get around that problem. Okay. You then need to place them throughout your text. Now, don't do what some people do and keyword stuff. That's where they stick it in like every other word. They get their keyword in so many times that it just becomes irritating to the reader, and it seems that that's all you can see. Now, if you look at what I've put in my post so far during my workshops, I'll say to my clients, right, how many times have I used the phrase "how to write a great blog post"? How many times has it appeared in this blog post so far? And typically they'll say 5, 6, something around that. In actual fact, I've used it about 10 times, and that is just so far. That's just in this little bit of the post. So let's have a look and see where it is. So here it is in the title. That's one. I've also got it included in the image for my podcast. So that's 2. That counts, by the way. I've also got it in the second image, which is 3. I've then got it in here, that's 4. I have it in here, that's 5. Here, 6. Here, 7. 8. So there's 8 without me sort of going back up and boring you to death. So at least 8 times there. I think when I've looked at this before, I think it's actually 10. So I've obviously missed a couple. So 8 times I've managed to get it in there without it being completely and utterly obvious that's what I'm doing. So that's what you need to do. You need to try and get it in a kind of a natural way so that it reads well. Okay, so you need your post to be educating, inspiring, informing, or entertaining your reader. And you need to keep that in mind as your main aim. Now, I know that we're writing this blog post as a way of getting onto page 1 of Google for free, but the real reason we're writing the blog post is for your customer. We're trying to inform them or inspire them or educate them about you and your business. So you have to write the post for your ideal customer. Don't write it for Google, because if you just make it readable to Google, then it's not really going to be very attractive or make much sense to your actual customers. So please bear that in mind. Although we're trying to keep Google happy, we're first and formally writing it for your customer. Include your keywords wherever you feel that they would occur naturally. So pretty much like what I've done in this post, and I have shown you, there are certain places, first sentence, headline, a couple of places, where it occurs naturally throughout the text. But really, you need to include them at least 4 times. Once in the first sentence, twice at least in the body of the text, and once more in the last sentence. Some blogging experts will suggest that you put them in bold, in italics, underline them, whatever. You don't need to do this anymore, because in the older days, when the Google algorithms weren't quite so sophisticated, you kind of had to make it obvious that that's where all these keywords were. You don't need to do that now. It's come on a lot, and it can find those keywords without you being so blatant about it. You can also include the keywords in the title and the alt text of your images, but we'll get onto images next. So how do images help to promote your blog post? Well, they help in many different ways. Images are great in blog posts because they break up the text. Now, a lot of people don't actually like reading huge amounts anymore. They prefer their content in video format or podcast. They like visuals, they like pictures. And so if you can break up the text with visuals, then it's going to help draw their attention down the content. So that's one way it can help. Images can also help you to explain or clarify things within your post. They make it easier for someone to understand what you're talking about. So a little bit like the images of when I did my headline analyzer, and I showed you the results that I got. Something like that, something that actually is a visual representation of what you're actually saying or teaching. When you upload your image, you should first of all make sure that it is legal for you to use and that there's no copyright or license for use attached to it. Now, this is really important, and it doesn't matter how many times I say this to my clients and in my workshops. I have people contact me who say that people have been in touch with them asking for money because they're using an image that they hadn't paid for. Now, to be honest, I'm losing sympathy because there are hundreds of places where you can get license-free images from on the internet. Don't please just go onto Google and copy an image, because that's not necessarily free for you to use. Instead, go on to a site such as unsplash.com, which is my favorite site. It has thousands of high definition images for you to choose from, which you can use even commercially in any way you choose. So there are also things like Pixabay, Pexels, there's many, many other sites. Unsplash just happens to be my favorite. They're also very high definition, which means you can stretch them across your websites and social media sites without them becoming pixelated and fuzzy. And while we're on the subject of getting onto page one of Google, it has over 200 criteria that it will look at for your SEO on your website. And having blurry images is one that it's going to downgrade you for. So it wants to see nice, sharp, attractive images. So get them from somewhere like unsplash.com and you will be fine. Okay, so now that you have these thousands of free images to choose from, once you decide which one you're going to upload to your blog, you need to make sure you do two things. Number one, give your image a proper title. I tend to usually use the same title as my blog post, as it contains all the keywords that I want to be ranked for. Number two, complete the alt text or alt tag with the keywords that you want to be ranked for. For example, I've put this in my alt tags for the images on this post. What I've put, click here to find out how to create a great blog post. Now, I've actually updated my alt text since creating this particular blog post. I now describe the image first, because this is a requirement of Google. The alternative text for your images describes what the image is to people who can't actually see the image. So that might be somebody who's partially sighted, who's using a tool to maybe read out your blog post, or it might be somebody who's using a device that doesn't display images. Either way, you don't want them to miss out. You want them to know what's going on. So describe your image, but then you can put maybe a call to action afterwards, like I've done there. And you will notice I've used the term click here, and that's because if someone finds my post on Pinterest, Pinterest will read the alt tag and display that along with my image, which means that I have a call to action on that image. So something that encourages someone to do something, such as click here. So if that image appears on Pinterest, and underneath the image, it will say click here to find out how to write a great blog post. If I then click on the image, it will take them to that blog post. So it's helping get more traffic back to my site. I'm not going to go into too much detail of how to do that here. All of that is included in my free email course, which I'm going to tell you about a little later, and that will explain how to get all of that working and how to get that extra traffic. Okay, so where else can I use my keywords on my post to promote my blog? Well, if you're using WordPress as your blogging template, if you look to the right of your screen as you're typing your post, you will see a side panel that has things like publish, format, save draft, things like that in it. And somewhere on there, you will find a section called tags. Now, these aren't to be confused with hashtags. These aren't hashtags, these are just tags. So what we do is we think of words that we might want to get associated with this particular blog post. So I might say, well, I don't actually want to put where I'm based in my blog post. So, for example, I'm based in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands in the UK. Now, I don't want to put that in my blog post because this blog post is relevant to anyone, anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where they are. But I might want to let people know that I'm a local blogging specialist who can help local people with their blogs if they want to come along to my workshops. So I would include things like Wolverhampton, West Midlands and UK in my tag section. So when Google reads my content, it will then read my tags and it will put the tags with the content. So for example, if somebody then searched how to write blog posts in Wolverhampton, it would look at my Wolverhampton and look at my content and put the two together. So it would know that local people might prefer my post as opposed to someone who's maybe in the USA, for example. Hope that makes sense. Right, so tags then are just either one word or collection of words. So for example, I would put in here where it says tags, I would type in Wolverhampton and then a comma, and then it adds the tag. Then I would put West Midlands, that's 2 words, and then a comma. And then I'll put UK and then a comma. And then when I've added them all in, I just click add, and then that stores them. But enter all the appropriate keywords that you want your blog post to be ranked for. And once you've entered them once, it keeps a record of them. So at the next post you write, you could choose from the most used tags, which saves you having to keep typing them over and over again. It also helps to remind you of which ones you've used. So for an example, I used these as some of my tags. So I've got blogging, help to blog, blogging support, how to write a great blog post, working online, working from home. So those last two, although it's nothing to do with blogging, people who are looking for a way to work from home, blogging is or can be a business. You can make money from it. So that is an appropriate tag to add to my post. So what you use will be entirely up to you and what you want Google to get to know your blog for. It might be that you want to be found in a certain location like me, so you would include that location as a keyword in your tags. Also in your posts if you can and if relevant, but if it's not relevant to include them in your post, at least you can still add them in your tags. Okay, how do I know whether my post is optimized for search engines? Okay, well, with most new WordPress themes, Yoast comes as standard. And Yoast is a plugin or a tool that helps you kind of remember to do all of the things that we've just talked about. So it will take you through things like, is your post long enough? Whether it contains the right amount of keywords, whether the images mention the keywords in the titles and tags, etc., etc. And to find your Yoast, if you just scroll down to the bottom of your post and keep scrolling, it's usually sitting at the bottom there. If it isn't, you can add a free plugin, completely free, and there is a short video on these blog posts that will show you exactly how to do that, and also how to use Yoast once you've got it. So that's, again, free videos, so go and have a look at those if you want to start using Yoast. If you're not using WordPress and you're using maybe Wix or GoDaddy site or something like that, they've generally got their own SEO attachments, so you will have to go and find out whichever one it is that's attached to that particular platform, and then go and make sure that you're making use of that tool so that it reminds you of all these things that you need to do to make sure that you're going to get ranked by Google and end up on that page 1 position. Now, here it said about whether your blog post is long enough. Now, Yoast recommends posts of over 300 words, but if you're going to be using your blog post, as we are, for SEO purposes, so in other words, to get you onto page 1 of Google, I'm afraid it's going to have to be a bit longer. In fact, it's going to have to be between 2,000 and 2,500 words long. This is because Google wants to present posts that are informative, that contain value. And they don't feel that a 300-word post is going to be able to contain much value. So if you want to get ranked on page 1, you're going to have to start writing longer posts. Now, don't start getting all excited and say, but you said this wasn't going to be time-consuming. You only need to do about half a dozen. So however many keywords you want to get ranked for, you just need to write a blog post around those keywords. Okay, so you might only need half a dozen of that length of blog post. So that isn't that many to do. And to be honest, if you're trying to inform or inspire or educate someone about your business and about what you can do, and more importantly, what you can do for them, then it's going to take you about 2,000 words to be able to explain that properly anyway. So once you get typing, it really isn't that hard a task. Okay, Yoast will also check your readability, and it uses something called a flesh system. And the flesh system looks at your content to see at what age group you are kind of aiming your writing. Google would prefer you to aim all of your content at 12-year-old readers. This is because at 12 years old, we don't get any better at reading, we just grow our vocabulary. So if you're aiming it at a 12-year-old reading capability, that means that anybody is able to read your content. You know, there's no great long words in there that people aren't likely to understand. However, if you're writing your content for a professional body of people, obviously you're going to need to write to their level. You're going to include vocabulary that they would know and use and understand. And that's what is important, because remember, I told you that you're writing for your audience, you are not writing for Google. So Yoast and all these SEO tools, they're there to help and guide, but they're not a rule book. So do what is appropriate for your reader and don't make it all about Google. Okay, as I said, if you want to learn how to use that in more detail, there are some video tutorials here which you can click onto and go ahead and do. So basically, that's it. Hopefully I've educated you in how to write a great blog post, but just a quick summary to make sure that you've got it all. Number one, choose some good keywords. Use Google to help you. There is a Google free tool called Keyword Planner. So if you just go onto Google and put in Keyword Planner, it will bring up a free tool for you to use that not only will suggest some great key phrases for you, but it will also tell you how often those phrases were searched for over the last month and how much competition there is for those key phrases. So if you can find a key phrase that has been searched for a lot of times but has low competition, then that's your golden nugget, and that's something that you could actually use. Number two, use a long tail version of the keywords to reduce competition. Number three, put the keywords into the title of your blog post. Please, please, please do this. The amount of times I've seen blog posts that are supposed to be ranked for one keyword, but in actual fact, the headline says something completely different. You need your headline in 3 key places if it's going to get your post ranked on page 1 of Google. It needs to be in the headline. It needs to be in the slug, which is the little bit that comes after your website that's underneath it. And it needs to be in your meta description, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. Okay, 3 places it needs to be. So make sure you put it in your headline. You need to use the keywords in the first and last sentence, and at least twice in the body of the post, but more if you can get them in there. You need to include your keywords in the title of images that you upload, and also include your keywords in the alt texts of your images, as we talked about earlier. Okay, as a bonus for sticking with me to the end, I hope you're still with me, and if you are, I'm going to share my final tip with you, which is how to change that meta description. So the meta description is a sentence or two that shows on Google results, and it's just underneath the title and the website in the search results. So it's this bit here. So there's your title, there's your website and your slug, and this bit is your meta description. Now, this is how your blog post is going to be presented to the searcher. So you want to make sure that those 2 sentences are enough to get them to click on your content rather than the one above it or below it. And you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can make use of the Yoast tool. You're able to change what your meta description says within the Yoast tool without changing what you've said in your post. If you're using the latest Gutenberg editing tool in your WordPress, it does have a little bit on that right-hand side panel that I think says either snippet or description. It's one or the other, but that's where you would change this bit here. If you're using Wix or GoDaddy, again, they have something on there which either says meta or description or snippet. If you change that, it will change the meta description here. Or way 2, You can put what you want your meta description to say in the first 2 sentences of your blog post. If no meta description has been defined, you haven't said what you actually want it to say, then it will take the first 2 sentences of your blog post and present that as your meta description. So if you actually put your meta description in the first 2 sentences, that is what will show. I don't recommend that because that's not necessarily how you want to start your blog post. So I would much rather you learn how to change that meta description and make it more clickable. So for example, if I hadn't changed my meta description, Google would present this as my meta description. Are you trying to find out how to write a great blog post? Great, then grab a cuppa and let's get started. Okay, but in actual fact, my meta description says something along the lines of, click here to find out how to write a great blog post that will get you onto page 1 of Google for free. Okay, so much more clickable. All right, so that's what you're aiming for, a clickable headline. The other thing, just as I'm scrolling down, that I will mention, a blog post has lots of space. If you notice, I don't ever do more than 2 or 3 lines of writing and then there's a space. Okay, so 3 lines, space, 3 lines, space, 3 lines, space. Now, this is because blog posts are written in an informal way. We're not writing an academic piece of writing. I know these aren't proper paragraphs, but this is how a blog is written. This is how it is formatted. Okay, you need to not put great big chunks of text because people don't like reading it. We need to guide them down the page by putting lots of white spaces, lots of images, and some subheadings as well. So it helps break up the text and guides them down the page. Okay, so that's pretty much how you create a blog post that is going to pretty much ensure, obviously, if you choose your keywords correctly, that you'll get onto page 1 of Google. As a for instance, I worked with a lady who runs dance classes for elderly people. So she's actually come up with a title to her blog, Dancing with Arthritis. She managed to get that blog post onto page 1 of Google in just 1 day. She was number 6 on page 1 of Google in just 1 day. And that's because she'd chosen her keywords, dancing and arthritis. So she wanted to get the fact that she's a dance instructor and that she instructs elderly people and she goes to care homes, etc., etc. So she joined that with another keyword that is appropriate to that kind of age group of people, i.e. arthritis. And she managed, as I said, to get that done in 1 day. So this doesn't have to take forever. It can be a very quick win. I am going to offer you the chance to take my 7-day email course. It's completely free, and there is a link to it just below this video where I'm going to be teaching you over a 7-day period. You're going to get 1 email per day for 7 days. It's going to be showing you things like how to choose your audience, who is it that your blog post is going to be aimed at, so how to define that audience to make your marketing far more effective, how to choose your keywords. So we're going to be looking more into the keywords and how to choose really good ones. I'm also going to be showing you how to format your blog posts. We're also going to be looking more at how to create those fantastic images that are unique to your particular blog post. I'm even going to be teaching you how to monetize your blog so you can actually add another income stream to your business, by just using your blog. So that's really great, isn't it? So I suggest you download it just to get that little tidbit. Okay, so as I said, the link to that is just below this video, so go and do that now because it teaches you everything, every single thing that we've talked about and more in obviously that 7-day course, because I can go into it in far more detail. I've also, for those of you who are a little bit more ambitious, created a little ebook, $7.99, that just teaches you some more advanced strategies. So just helping you to share your blog posts, get more visitors, get more traffic to your blog, etc. So again, the link to that will be under the video. So if you're brave, or you're one of those who just wants to sort of crack on and do as much as you can as quickly as you can, then I suggest go and grab that ebook, because it's full of great hints, tips, ideas, tools, strategies and apps that you can use, and typically most of them are free as well. So it will save you far, far, far more than the $7.99 it's going to cost you. So I hope you go and grab that as well. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed the tutorial. If you did want to work with me, which I would love you to do, you can actually contact me. I'm quite happy for you to get in touch. I'm on Lynn at info at thebusinessbuilderonline.com, or you can call me, Lynn, on 07736 396 519, and I would love to hear from you and to talk about your blogging ideas, your experience, or whatever it is that you'd like some help with. So that's it for me for now. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I get to speak to you again really soon.